Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Noah's bandages are removed as Nick faces his deadly opponent. Victor Newman shows his continued mastery of the game by planning a devastating surprise strike. Nick and Sharon's blast from the past turns into a living nightmare, and Victoria suspects a family tragedy. Nick and Sharon are startled by a flashback as they seek to understand Matt Clark. Claire and Holden discuss current affairs and future plans, and Jack helps Kyle decide what to do next. Holden keeps a significant secret for Audra's sake. Nikki grows increasingly worried about Claire's decisions, and Sharon and Nick rush to Noah's bedside for a shocking discovery. Nick confronts his worst adversary, Matt Clark. As Sienna struggles to conceal her identity from the LAPD, Victoria starts to doubt the official version of Noah's accident. Jack and Diane put up a united front to protect Kyle. While Noah begins discussing his hospital stay away from Genoa City with his parents, Nick is concerned about Sharon's safety. Victor prepares a surprise attack on his enemies, Lily grows impatient with Kane, and Kyle presses Claire for details about her time in Los Angeles. Having come up with a few plans in the past, Jack is there to help Kyle decide what to do next. Nick and Sharon still have to deal with Matt Clark even though Matt Clark returns, wasn't on our bingo card. If you want to learn more about the man's identity and his significance in Genoa City's history, we've got you covered. After discussing recent events, will Claire and Holden redefine current affairs? Even though they are still in disbelief over everything that has transpired since they arrived in Los Angeles, Nick and Sharon put everything aside to be with Noah when he needs them most. This time, Holden is the one keeping Audra in the dark instead than Audra, who usually maintains secrets. Nikki, who has made a few bad choices in the past, is concerned about Claire's apparent course. Nick is about to confront someone who is definitely at the top of his list, so grab some popcorn and buckle up. Sis. Victoria is dubious about what really happened with Noah. Whether or not Sienna has something to hide, her actions today are clearly not those of an innocent woman. Can the young heir even profit from Jack and Diane's united front? Kyle's parents will surely support him. Are you wondering what Noah really did after leaving Genoa City? He's going to tell you, so get ready. Nick has good reason to worry about Sharon's safety. Mitch's mask takes off. Sharon discloses Mitch's true identity, leaving you dumbfounded. If you've heard this before, stop us since Victor has big plans for his enemies. Will his secret attack have the desired effect? Has Kane lost all hope of winning Lily back? It appears that she has had enough of him. Kyle confronts Claire about what she did in Los Angeles, but there's a suggestion that he might not want all the details. The atmosphere in Genoa City was charged with unease as Nick Newman stood at the edge of the hospital corridor, his jaw clenched, his mind spiraling through a storm of memories that refused to stay buried. The faint beeping of heart monitors and the sterile scent of antiseptic only served to heighten the dread that was building inside him. His son, Noah, lay in the intensive care unit, ICU, his body covered in bandages after what authorities called an accident. But Nick had witnessed enough. In the hospital room, Sharon sat beside Noah's bed, her hand trembling as she brushed the hair away from his bandaged forehead. "He's going to be fine," she whispered, though her voice betrayed the quiver of fear she couldn't suppress. Nick entered silently, his eyes fixed on the motionless figure before him. "The doctors say the swelling's gone down," Sharon said, but Nick could barely hear her. His thoughts were consumed by a single gnawing question: who had done this? He knew his enemies were many, but this attack felt personal. And then came the moment that made the world stop. A soft groan escaped Noah's lips as his fingers twitched, and Sharon gasped, tears instantly springing to her eyes. "Nick, he's waking up." The monitors spiked as Noah's eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painstakingly, he opened his eyes, his vision swimming before settling on his parents' anxious faces. "Mom! Dad!" he rasped, his voice weak but steady. Sharon choked back a sob. Nick leaned closer, gripping his son's hand. "You're safe, son. You're home." But then Noah said something that sent chills down their spines. "He knows. He knows I'm alive." The nurse intervened to remove Noah's facial bandages before Nick could even comprehend the meaning of those words. The tension in the room was oppressive, and Sharon gasped as the last wrap came off, Not from fear but from the stark reminder of how close they had come to losing him. Noah's features, despite being pale and bruised, were unmistakably his, but behind those eyes was something new, haunted, secretive, as if he'd seen something terrible that he couldn't speak out loud. "Noah, who are you talking about?" Nick, but before Noah could respond. "I don't buy the official story about Noah's accident," Victoria confessed outside the room. "The timelines don't add up. The witness report is inconsistent, and there's chatter about someone paying off the EMT who first arrived on scene." Nick's stomach turned cold. "Are you saying this was staged?" he demanded. Victoria nodded. "I think someone wanted us to think Noah was dead. And maybe they still do." Victor Newman appeared at the end of the storm. "It seems the time has come to remind our enemies that the Newmans are not to be taken seriously." Nick's eyes narrowed. "Matt Clark's dead," he said sharply. "I saw to that myself," but Victor just tilted his head. "So you thought," he whispered. "But there are whispers, sightings. A man using aliases, matching his description, operating out of Los Angeles. He's been pulling strings behind the scenes, using intermediaries like Mitch Bacall." Nick froze. "Mitch and Matt are connected?" Nick asked, his voice tight. "Not just connected," he replied. "Partners." Back in Los Angeles, Sienna Bacall was in a state of chaos as the LAPD was closing in on her following an unsuccessful cover-up involving falsified documents connected to Mitch's business. Her hands trembled as she packed her bag, and every shadow in her apartment seemed more menacing by the moment. She had attempted to break away from Mitch, but it was too late. His crimes and lies were now intertwined with hers, and worse, she feared that her own secret, the identity she had been concealed, sink. Back in Genoa City, Nikki Newman sat in the ranch's living room, staring out the window with increasing uneasiness. "I don't like what's happening to Claire," she told Victor earlier that morning. "She's been acting strange, withdrawn, secretive." Nikki had witnessed enough of her own family's turmoil to recognize the signs of guilt. Claire, who had been rebuilding her life after years of emotional damage, was suddenly caught between loyalty and fear. Holden, the man she had been working covertly behind the scenes, protecting Audra Charles from exposure after discovering evidence connecting her to Mitch's criminal network. Jack Abbott paced his office while Kyle sat at the desk, his head in his hands. "Dad, if what Claire told me is true, we're in over our heads," Kyle muttered. Jack exhaled deeply. "And if there's one thing I've learned from dealing with Victor Newman all these years, it's that we face our enemies as a united front. You and your mother, we protect you at all costs." Diane entered the room, her composure steel-like as ever. The weight of it all weighed heavily on Nick later that night as he drove towards his father's private warehouse through the dimly lit streets. He knew Sharon was correct, but the sight of Noah's terrified face, the cryptic warning, and the reappearance of Matt Clark left him with no choice. When he arrived, Victor was already there, standing in front of a series of surveillance screens showing live feeds from multiple locations, one of which showed a man who fit Matt's description entering a hotel in Los Angeles. "There," Victor pointed at the screen. "No, son, you'll do as I say. This is a coordinated strike. We're going to hit him where it hurts, his operation, his allies." Sharon stayed by Noah's bedside while the Newman patriarch planned his next move. As the young man grew stronger, bits of his memory started to come back. "Mom," he whispered, "there was someone there that night. Someone who pulled me from the wreck before it exploded." Sharon's heart skipped a beat. "Who, Noah? Who saved you?" Noah hesitated. "I didn't see his face, but I heard him say, 'Tell your father Matt Clark says hello.'" At that moment, Sharon's face lost color. As Victoria dug deeper into the accident report, she discovered that the paramedic's signature had been falsified, and that the crash log contained traces of falsified data. "Someone wanted this covered up," she muttered as she scanned the files. Her phone rang, and it was Nate alerting her to the fact that Victor's surprise attack was already underway. "He's mobilizing resources against an unknown party," Nate said. "But if this goes wrong, it could blow back on the company." Victoria hung up, caught between her duty to defend Newman Enterprises. "You wanted to talk about Los Angeles?" Claire asked cautiously when she met Kyle at Society. "You said you went there for business, but I found out you were seen with Sienna Bacall. What are you hiding?" Claire looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't business, Kyle. It was about Noah, he repeated. Claire, what do you mean? She swallowed hard. Noah reached out to me before the crash. He said he'd discovered something about Mitch and a connection to Matt Clark. He wanted me to meet him in LA, but the crash had already occurred. Kyle stared at her in shock. You think Matt ordered it? Claire nodded. When night gave way to dawn at the hospital, Nick and Sharon were finally permitted to take Noah home under close supervision. The three of them drove back to the ranch in silence, the unanswered questions hanging like fog in the air. However, as they pulled into the driveway, the headlights caught something on the front porch. A single envelope taped to the door. Nick tore it open and his blood ran cold as he read the words inside. Welcome back, Noah. See you soon. MC. Sharon gasped and covered her mouth in horror. Then let him. He'll be ready the next time. Beyond the gate, a person waited in the darkness, his face hidden but his smile obvious. Matt Clark, still very much alive, had returned to Genoa City, and this time, he was here for legacy rather for retribution. As the Newman family prepared for the impending storm, Victor initiated the last stage of his plan, a catastrophic surprise attack that would rock not only his adversaries but Genoa City itself. Jack and Diane got ready for the fallout. Kyle struggled with the reality of Claire's role, and Sienna, fleeing the LAPD, made a desperate call that would permanently link her fate with the Newmans. One thing became horrifyingly evident in a world where no secret remains hidden and no enemy actually perishes. The past never lets go. As Nick faced his fiercest nemesis, the distinction between justice and retribution became once again hazy. He's back, Nick muttered, his voice like steel scraping against stone. After all these years, he's actually back. Sharon shook her head, her heart pounding. But how, Nick? Matt Clark was gone, dead. There's no way he could have survived. Nick turned towards her, his expression hardening. You and I both know in this town, no one stays dead forever. What on earth is this? Sharon muttered. With a wrinkled brow, Chance leaned back. This appears to be a biotech experiment of some sort. Mitch wasn't simply stealing company information, if I had to assume. He was gathering genetic profiles, possibly even focusing on certain families. Families? Sharon said it again, her voice breaking. Do you believe that Noah participated in any of these experiments? Chance paused. I believe Mitch was collecting information for a prominent person. Someone who required a subject like Noah. Young, smart, imaginative, and connected to powerful families. This might extend far beyond identity theft. Sharon felt her stomach turn. Then we must locate Sienna. Isn't she still in town? She was, Chance remarked somberly. Until last night. After leaving her hotel, she disappeared. Sharon went into a tailspin after learning that. The fragments were beginning to come together to create a terrifying image. In addition to being co-conspirators, Mitch and Sienna were members of a network that exploited human lives as pawns in a darker scheme. But Noah, why? Why her son? Sharon made the decision to go see Victor Newman because she was determined to find out. He was the one with the means to find someone like Sienna. Victor was reading a report from one of his detectives in his office when she got to Newman Enterprises. Sharon, he said in a chilly voice, I've heard about your interaction with Mitch Bacall. What a scandal. Sharon firmly stated, this isn't about a scandal. It concerns Noah. Victor's face became stern. Go ahead. She gave him a copy of the flash drive's pictures. Mitch was posing as someone else. Michael Darnell is his real name, and he participated in a project known as Project Resurrection. Noah has been photographed all throughout Europe. He was being followed by someone, perhaps making use of him. Victor silently examined the pictures. After a long moment, he got up and went to the window to gaze out at the city below. At last he said, I know that name. Resurrection Project. Sharon's eyes got bigger. You what? Victor took his time explaining. It was a covert biotech initiative. Luminera Labs and Newman Biotech collaborated years ago. They were attempting to resurrect injured tissue by reversing cellular deterioration through genetic restoration. A data leak led to the project's cancellation. However, if Mitch had been involved, with a hint of terror in her voice, Sharon concluded for him, then someone revived it. And my son was used. With an unreadable expression, Victor turned to face her. If Noah became involved in this, it was due to his overconfidence. But pay close attention to what I have to say, Sharon. The person responsible for this doesn't leave any unanswered questions. You're in danger if they find out you viewed that info. I refuse to give up, she declared angrily. Not until I find out. Although Victor respected her bravery, he advised her to avoid it. Sharon didn't pay attention. She went back to Crimson Lights that evening and read through all of Noah's correspondence, including old voicemails, postcards, and emails before he vanished. She was drawn to one message. It was from 3 months before to his disappearance. Warm but preoccupied, Noah said, "Hey Mom. I met a wonderful person. She claims to be able to help me receive attention for my work. Sienna is her name. I believe you would like her." Sharon froze. Noah had known Sienna Bacall before to Mitch's arrival in Genoa City. This had been planned from the beginning. They hadn't merely happened to cross paths. Sharon met with Nick the following day and told him everything. Nick's defensive tendencies erupted right away. "We'll track down Sienna if she was abusing Noah." He summoned Adam, who continued to have contacts in the underworld, and the brothers forged an improbable alliance. "I'll make sure of it." Adam was able to identify a recent financial transaction connected to Sienna's alias in a matter of hours. She had bought a train ticket to Chicago. Sharon insisted on accompanying Nick to confront her, defying Chance's caution. Sharon's heart was racing when they got to the hotel where Sienna was hiding. When she opened the suite door, Sienna was seated at a desk with a laptop and open files all around. She didn't even appear shocked to see them. Calmly, Sienna continued, "I was wondering how long it would take you to find me." "Where is my son?" with a shaky voice, Sharon demanded. With a groan, Sienna shut off her laptop. "Alive," she said plainly. "For the time being." Nick sprang forward, but Sharon stopped him. "For now, what do you mean?" Sienna's tone was icy distant as her gaze darted to the window. Noah was picked because of his brain patterns and inventiveness. Project Resurrection was about reproduction as much as healing. The job assigned to Mitch and me was to identify people who had specific cognitive signatures. Among them was Noah. "Replication?" Horrified, Sharon repeated. "You mean cloning?" Sienna grinned. "Not precisely. Consider digital resurrection, including consciousness transfer and memory mapping. They were constructing something much more sophisticated." Noah also offered to help. He believed he was contributing to the development of technology that would preserve creativity, art, and emotion. However, they took advantage of him. It is intolerable to witness Summer Newman's grief in the meantime. With sorrow and rage in her eyes, she approaches her mother at the Grand Phoenix. "Mom, how could you? How could you assist Victor in destroying the business where I've put so much effort into creating my own?" Phyllis begs her daughter to comprehend that she was merely attempting to reclaim authority and respect. Summer, however, is unable to hear it. She informs her mother that she will no longer support her schemes. "Every bridge you have ever constructed has been destroyed by fire." Summer's remarks wounded worse than any corporate treachery could. "Don't expect me to be the one who rebuilds it for you this time." Phyllis realizes for the first time that she may have lost everything, including her daughter's affection, her work, and her allies. Victor, on the other hand, thinks he has triumphed. However, his kingdom is never as secure as he believes. Nikki is getting more uncomfortable every day. She is sick of his never-ending campaigns and brutal methods, and this most recent action, particularly the use of their grandson as a pawn, disgusts her. "You've turned our family into a weapon," Nikki accuses Victor in one of the scariest exchanges in recent memory. Victor brushes off her warning, but a glimmer of worry appears in his eyes. "And one day that weapon is going to turn on you." Nikki may also be correct. Almost immediately, Noah starts to feel the pressure. Even with Victor's support, Chabot is not trusted by his staff. There are divisions even within the Newman family, and the Abbotts treat him like an intruder. Nick openly challenges the morality of placing Noah in control of an enemy company, while Victoria feels that Victor has erred. Adam smirks and says, "Dad's finally managed to alienate everyone, even the grandkids, enjoying the mayhem for once." Phyllis finds herself in a tight spot and knows that her only option is to exact retribution. She accesses her laptop by herself in her suite, and retrieves encrypted files from Kane's pilfered AI system. Victor is unaware that she kept something there. The code has a backdoor, a weakness that only she can take advantage of. She will grant Victor a war if he desires one. She'll attack him with his own weapon. Phyllis's idea to flip the roles could have unexpected repercussions in the upcoming weeks. There are rumors that she may side with Adam because they are both outsiders in Victor's world.